Our next storyteller coming up is Joe T. Joe T. Joseph Thomas. Hello, Joseph. Give it up for Joseph Thomas. You want me to hold it, Jack? All right, cool. Hello. All right, I'm going to adjust the microphone for you. Just touch the mic. Step a little closer.
Hi, my name's Joe. I used to be an advertising copywriter in Bangalore, India. And our approach to work in India is it comes before everything else. I remember there was a colleague of mine who came to work when his wife was in labor in hospital. He kept working through the day. In the mid-morning, he got a call saying that his wife had delivered a son. And he worked for an hour longer before he went to the hospital to be introduced to his newly born son. So I was working as a copywriter and in a small agency, and I was the only copywriter there, and I got all the work to do, and my boss was relying on me for all of the work, basically. And one day I was going to back to Madras, India, which is now called Chennai, on a holiday, and I told my boss about it, and apparently in the morning they got a brief from a client asking for a brochure, a 4-page brochure to be written like immediately. So I was taking the afternoon train. I would have to write this brochure within 4 hours. I couldn't do it. So she said that you can write it, I'll put you on the evening flight, so that'll give you 5 hours longer, and then you can write the brochure. So I said, okay. Also, this boss of mine, she had some peculiarities. She used to pick her nose and bite her fingernails. And I don't know what order she did it. But it was, that was one of the enduring things about her. Anyway, she wanted me to write that brochure. I wrote it. I didn't write a very good brochure. I was just basically writing garbage. I just wanted to get out of there. Because I wanted to, I had a train ticket booked. It was for 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now I was getting a flight ticket for 7 o'clock in the evening. I didn't have money because it was the end of the month, and the accountant with whom I had filed for reimbursement of the dinner last night, because I worked late almost every night, he didn't have money with him, so I wasn't getting anything more than the money I had, which was 40 rupees. So I left the agency around 5:30. The trip to the airport would have been like half an hour or so. I went back home, picked up my suitcase, which I had packed for expecting a train journey. They don't weigh your baggage on a train, but they do weigh your baggage on a flight. So I had this old Samsonite that my parents had got because my father was a diplomat and he was based in Washington. So this Samsonite suitcase, which was made of plywood, and it weighed 8 kilos. And you are allowed, the baggage must not exceed 20 kilos. So I had packed for the train, not expecting me to go on a flight. I just had time to pick up the suitcase and go to the airport. So with 40 rupees in my pocket, I had to take, and I was late already, I couldn't take a bus, I couldn't take a public transit, I had to take a thing called an auto rickshaw, which is basically a 3-wheel taxi. That took 35 rupees, and I went to the counter to check in with 5 rupees in my pocket. And the guy weighs the baggage, the suitcase, and says it's 28 kilos, you're 8 kilos overweight, it'll cost you 48 rupees. I said, I don't have money. He said, what? I said, I don't have 48 rupees, I have 5 rupees. He said, why? You have such a good name. And I don't know why. He assumed that Joseph Thomas is a good name. I think it's a name just like any other. It's not Rockefeller. It's a good name. It served me well. Apparently he thought that this was unusual, that a guy named Joseph would not have 48 rupees. Finally, he let me on the flight without me paying. I flew back to Madras. Fortunately, I didn't have to go back home because my father was at the airport. There was a family reunion. My brother was coming in from the UK and his flight was later. But my father picked me up. I went home and I went back out to the airport to meet my brother at 2 o'clock in the morning. International flights usually land pretty late. And that was the story of how I managed to get away with being 8 kilos overweight on a flight. Thank you very much.